I believe this is the branching point, yeah. The only thing I know about this last pathway is that the path with Greg is the, like, scariest path. Which makes sense now that we've seen it, so. We're doing Heidi's story, yes. The plan for today is we're gonna finish this game, which is just the Heidi pathway. As far as I know, there's 2 main endings, and we've seen 2 main endings, so the ending might have slight differences, but, like, nothing major. And then we're gonna do some other short horror games, like indie horror games. I think this should all be about the same level of scary. I don't think any of them are, like, over the top. At least I hope not. Hopefully today's games will wrap up nicely, and tomorrow we are gonna start a new long game, which is exciting. Oh, thanks, Pat. Oh, I should, like, actually... I'll start promoting myself more tomorrow when we start something new. Definitely because I'm... I don't know. Anxious. Well, I'll split it in the alley. A statement that will make no sense if you don't know me personally, I guess. For people on YouTube, but... yeah, I will start it in 2 minutes. I'm not sure who else is coming at the beginning. But I've picked out a couple more social justice bundle and or just general itch indie games for today. So we're making decent headway into the social justice bundle, but it was also like literally hundreds and hundreds of items, so. I'm gonna check one thing before we start while we're waiting. I don't think that this developer has any games that explicitly explain what the deal with Parsnip is, because there doesn't seem to be any other game with him as the protagonist besides the game that has his name as the title. Pretty much every other game, or what is the right word? Like short story by this developer is sapphic stuff, so. Ooh, a new Lancer book dropped today. That's cool. Are they selling physical books of the... Not that I should spend money, but when they start re-releasing the physical copies of the core book, I'm gonna buy one. Parsnip is an emissary of the King of Yellow. Yeah, that seems probably to be the case, actually. Okay, I'm gonna start. Yeah, I guess that might be fun. I could use the money to build more to buy more bat stuff. Bat stuff? Okay, sure. Tell you what, come on tomorrow at like 3 o'clock. You can help me out. Plenty more work to do. She tapped one of the unsorted boxes. Cool, okay Heidi, thank you. Right, I better start closing up. Thanks for your help. I'll see ya, Trixie. I wished her a good evening and started to walk home to my bed. I could definitely use some sleep. I was walking past Wilbur Hall on my way to bed when I noticed Nikita fumbling with the vending machine. She was trying to pull a bar of toffee melt out of its slot, but it seemed to be stuck. I think we've done this before. Oh, and yet I could remember how the book had drawn me to it when I held it. I'd wanted to pull the golden ribbon and read it. Regardless of its contents, the rumors around that accursed play were more than enough to make it maddening to behold. I didn't like Nikita, but I was genuinely worried about her health. This is also the same. Whoops. I'm gonna message Tabby again just because the last time I have done both of these options, and messaging Tabby seems better for your mental health, so. I remembered I'd promised to help Heidi again. I was hoping I wouldn't regret signing up to boring junk sorting, but I couldn't help but be intrigued by her side business, whatever it was. Some of the stuff she had might have been cool to look at, even if it was just tat. With last night's encounter with Nikita all but forgotten, I made myself somewhat presentable and headed to town. I feel like there's at least a chance that the masked person we bought stuff from with Greg is Heidi. Heidi seemed somewhat surprised to see me. Good of you to show up, Trixie. Ready for a hard day of work? She grinned and bundled me into her office. I wasn't ready for a day of hard work. I never am. I was tired after about half an hour. Lifting stuff was a lot of effort. I persevered though, and after a few hours we were pretty much done. I noticed Heidi's shop didn't get much traffic, though with the amount of money her secret stock was worth, I wasn't sure that was an issue. I was about to comment on the lack of customers when we heard the shop's front door open. A customer had arrived. Heidi snuck over to the office door and peered through the spy hole. Ah, of course. She opened the door and beckoned me into the shop. A familiar face was waiting for us. Hey Greg, we were just in the back, not fucking each other or anything. Ha 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 ha! She forced a laugh out as she closed the door behind us. Greg giggled. I was a little offended. I don't think I'm really the fucking kind of person, unless it involved monsters or cyber bat racer maybe. Hi friends! I'm sad that Malice wasn't here for that. You here for those boxes? You bet! Is that still okay? I don't want to cause you any trouble if you need them. Nah, take as many as you need. What so you need them for anyway? You making a delivery or something? Yeah, Trixie's like into ghosts, I think. Oh, and bats, I guess? It's for boxing things. I'm going to put things in the box. Their eyes floated back and forth. I'm boxing the wedding cake I made for those two mice. The cake goes in the box. Yup. Makes sense. It certainly did. Anyway, I better get back and box that cake. See you later, pals. Later, dude. Have a nice time boxing the cake. Greg hurried out of the shop, the cardboard box held above their head. They looked pretty ridiculous. Okay, Trixie, we've got a few things left to go through before we're done. Let's not waste any time. It took longer than I would have liked, but eventually we finished sorting for the day. I almost collapsed, exhausted. I was amazed at quite how much junk Heidi had collected. I still really wanted to find out where the stuff came from, for educational reasons, obviously. That's enough for today. Great work. She pulled a wad of money from her pocket. 75? Well, it's pounds, right? How's that sound? I could buy a lot of tat with that. Cool. I don't know what that word means. I've never been paid for a job before, besides the time I got given 10 pounds to throw a rock through someone's window. That was less a job and more of a paid act of vandalism, like being a soldier. Oh hey, you like whiskey, Trixie? Oh, I mean, I haven't tried it. I don't drink often, I'm pretty bad with alcohol. Besides, I better head back to my room and get some sleep, you know? Well, feel free to have a bottle anyway, I have tons of the stuff. Think of it as a work benefit. Oh, sure that it might be tasty. Haha, knock yourself out. I mean, don't. Take it slow. Alcohol, know your limits! She opened her own bottle and downed half of it. I thanked her and headed home. Oop. I drank the entire bottle within 10 minutes of leaving if my phone rang. No, Trixie! What did we just talk about? Trixie! Something's come up. Can you come out? Come help me out again? Fortunately, I'd avoided the whiskey's evil effects so far I was able to answer. Hi. Why are you shouting? Mostly. Sorry, I can't be there. I can be there in a few minutes. Great, see you then. I managed to find my way back to Heidi's. It only took about twice as long as it should have. Hi. I kind of fell through the door. I tried to turn it into a kind of a cool dance move, but I don't think it worked. Wait, Trixie, are you drunk? Ugh, seriously? Yep. Tried to do a cool grin, but I'm pretty sure I just look sleazy. Great, well you better sober up because it's too late to rearrange this mess now. I need you to make a delivery for me while I meet my supplier. I hope it's not drugs, hehehehe. That would be very illegal! I giggled to myself for a bit, apparently finding the concept of drug prohibition hilarious. Heidi just shook her head in despair. I realized I needed to get my act together and managed to brute force sobriety for a while. Sorry, Heidi, yeah, I'm okay now. I can totally hand over some drugs for you. Easy. Heidi didn't look wholly impressed with my joke. Apparently only I find myself funny when I'm drunk. It's not drugs, it's some of the crap we've been sorting. That stuff has... well, it has a very specific clientele and I sell it in alleyways. Look, don't worry about it too much, okay? We don't have time to mess about. Now, there's something else you'll need. Ah! I was correct, it is Heidi. Explain again why I'm dressed as a pixie or whatever? A pixie? Have you ever seen a pixie before? They don't look anything like that. I meant goblin. Oops. I giggled to myself for a moment before calming down again. Behave. Now, Trixie, you're no longer Trixie. In this costume, you are Delia Moonbeam, keeper of the cosmic... Delia Moonbeam, keeper of the cosmic secrets? Is this your freaking Dungeons and Fungeons character, Heidi? I started cackling to myself. Heidi seemed a lot less cool and edgy now. Honestly, I should have guessed it was Heidi based on the fact that this town has apparently 3 residents. Heidi's face was red with embarrassment, but she quickly regained composure and swatted me lightly round the head. Hey, shut the fuck up. Delia Moonbeam is my illegal antique book-selling alter ego. That way the weirdos who buy this crap can't recognize me and come stalk me. So don't fuck up or let anyone know who you are, and don't fucking tell anyone about this or I'll fucking end you, okay? She sounded pretty serious, so I shut up. Okay, so you're gonna want to use a different voice. I usually do a deep, scary one. QC doesn't have a scary voice, so I'm sorry. There's me and Tabby and Nikita. Okay, I guess so. You don't even see Tabby in this game. I wasn't going to do that. Talking a deep voice made me feel like shit. Oh. As unhealthy as it might be, I'll always choose to kill my vocal cords and talk how I want to over my normal voice, or worse, an over-the-top deep one. I figure I just talk kind of slowly and weird like a cartoon ghost. Wait, what did she say? You're heading to the alleyway next to Pound I'll take you. Trixie, shut the fuck up. You kids need to learn your alcohol tolerances. I giggled onto my breath a little more, but managed to shut up. I mean, there's also, like, LaRose is a regular person who lives here. And Parsnip, who's an irregular person who lives here. Okay, as I was saying, you're headed to the alleyway next to Pound Town, that cheap tat shop like 10 minutes from here. Someone will meet you there, you take the payment and you give them the books and then you leave. Got it? Yeah, I got you. Spooky voice, don't show my face, my name is Delia Moonbeam. Alleyway, going to Pound Town, give the books to get the payment. Easy. I think the magpie is in the snack machine. Or something. I guess the squirrel girl is now rabid in the woods or something. Heidi didn't look super convinced, but before she could comment, she looked at the clock. Fuck, you're gonna be late if you don't get going. Just don't muck this up for me, Trixie, please. I'll pay you well for it when you're back, I promise. Heidi handed me 2 wrapped up books and bundled me out of the door with some vague directions to Pound Town. Why is it called that? It wasn't too far from the shop, so even in my inebriated state, I got there pretty quickly. I waited around in the dark alleyway, hoping I wasn't late. Just as I was thinking about leaving, I caught sight of movement in the darkness. An odd figure shuffled towards me. They forced themselves towards me on clumsy, rigid legs. They wore a heavy hooded cloak which shrouded their face in a darkness from which yellow eyes gleamed towards me. Oh! That's a new person. Who is that? The matted figure. Delilah. Their voice was strange. It rasped every sound and cut out suddenly at the end of each phoneme. I'm trying to think of what that would sound like. Ooh, I'm Delia Moonbeam. Ooh. The figure's hooded head jerked up and down. I think it was supposed to be a nod. The figure twitched, almost seeming to collapse briefly before jutting back up. Before I could ask if they were all right, they spoke again. The payment as discussed. The figure shakily and judderingly extended a hoofed hand to me. Their arm was covered in matted, dirty wool, parts of it which was shedding to reveal what seemed to be deep peck marks. I thought of the abandoned cottage and the clumps of matted wool lying within and shuddered. I thought of the dark stain and the bird feathers lost in a scuffle. A coincidence, surely, but not something that bore thinking about. Despite their arm ending with a hoof, this creature was clearly no cow. It appeared almost sheep-like, although I knew that was impossible. It dropped what seemed to be several peels, and a beautiful sapphire inlaid circlet into my outstretched hand. The valuable items sparkled in the starlight. I almost thought about selling them to pay off my student debt, but I'd probably need a few diamonds on top of it to even make a dent in that. Besides, Heidi had a taser, one which she neglected to give me for this meeting. Great. I put the treasures into my bag and took out the first package. I gingerly held the package forward and the matted figure clumsily took it from my hands. Thank you, friend. And the next. This matted figure was off-putting. I wanted to get out of here as fast as possible and never see them again. No problem. I spluttered out. I was about to pass him the second package when I felt sick. Drinking that much whiskey had been a mistake. The last thing I needed was to throw up inside that mask. There wasn't anywhere for it to go. I took off the mask and was pleased to find I just needed to burp. I almost yelled, realizing what I'd done. My eyes locked with 2 yellow pinpricks under the stranger's hood. I could swear I saw a flash of recognition. Who is that? I quickly put the mask back on, almost dropping it in my panic. Can I not just give them the other book? I freaked out and pulled my bag off. The figure seemed to retreat slightly, fearing I was going for a weapon. I grabbed the first thing I could find and threw my packet of cheese ropes at them. The plasticky food lightly bounced off their body, which didn't even slightly react to the strike. I turned around and fled, the figure following me with loud stomps of its strange, hard, hoof-like feet. I also think it's the sheep person from Parsnip, but why did they recognize Trixie? I don't think that they're canonically poisoned to death by Parsnip's cake. But also, they should only recognize Parsnip, not me. That's why I'm thinking emoji. My heart raced. The unnatural creature in the alleyway filled me with dread. Something about their appearance, mannerisms, and even the air around them chilled me to the bone. I threw open the door to Heidi's shop and ran to the office, relieved to see Heidi was already back. You're back already? Good work, I owe you one. Get that costume off, we can both get some sleep. I took the costume off and packed it away like Heidi had asked. I took my time, but I couldn't put it off any longer. Heidi. There was a little fuck up, and I kinda They saw my face, kind of? What? You showed your face to them? Are you kidding? I gave you a fucking mask specifically so that this wouldn't happen. Do you know how much danger you've put us in? You know the people who buy this crap are real psychos, right? Like, completely unhinged? I knew she would be mad, but hearing her sound genuinely afraid surprised me. Oh, I told her the truth. Okay, so... I explained the entire meeting. Heidi listened and seemed to calm down as I spoke, much to my relief. I'm sorry for shouting at you, Trixie. I didn't mean to scare you. I have a bit of a temper and this is serious stuff. Come on, it'll be fine. Let's get you home safe, then we can talk tomorrow when you're feeling better. My motorbike's out front. You can sit in the sidecar. Don't throw up on it though, cause then I will be pissed, huh? For once, I appreciated the laugh, but I wasn't sure I could promise that. Before we could leave, the front door swung open and the cool night breeze flooded into the shop. Good evening, friends. Heidi seemed to see the worry on my face. Trixie, is this? I nodded, still stuck to the spot. I couldn't believe I'd let this happen. Heidi pushed me back and growled through bared teeth as she grabbed her rounder's bat. What do you want? The figure jerkily raised their arm and pointed at me. The rat, the book. Leave Trixie the fuck alone and leave. Now. The book. The figure lurched forward. Wrong move. Heidi leapt forward and swung the bat as hard as she could. She clearly had a lot of practice. There was a terrible crack as the figure's arm broke. I cringed at the sound but was shocked to see them continue their advance. Either way, they didn't notice their arm was fractured or they didn't care. Heidi threw her bat to the ground and pulled out her taser. She charged at the figure and began wrestling with them, but seemed unable to budge them as if they were carved from solid stone. The book! The book! Return. Get out! Heidi jammed her taser into the cloaked figure's woolen arm, forcing contact between them. The figure pulled away with a start. Heidi fell to the floor in their absence. The wool Heidi had been tasering had ignited. A small fire spread up the creature's arm. The matted figure flew out of the door with force as if yanked off stage by a cane. As it was swept out of the shop, I was sure I caught a glimpse of a woolly white face. Creature that should not exist. The shop fell silent. It was a while before Heidi spoke up. Trixie, let's get you home. We can talk about this tomorrow, okay? I nodded. I mean, they came back for the book because we owed them a book and we tasered them. That was kind of mean, honestly. I'd been worrying about the matted figure all night, but I was pretty sure they hadn't followed me and Heidi to her uni. Her bike was pretty fast. Besides, I was busy in a busy accommodation block. They would have to be pretty brave to follow me here. I'd calmed down a lot after eating some snacks. Things were going to be okay, I foolishly thought. Eventually I managed to get to sleep, only to be immediately woken up. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay, that was an option I had to click. I did not notice that. I gotten a text from campus security. Apparently, the person next door, I think Misty Dartmouth or someone on the museum studies course, had put in a complaint about me. Apparently, I'd been talking to myself all night and scratching the wall. Shame, I liked her, if just because she had a nice name. I looked at the wall. It was true, I'd left some tiny claw marks in them. That was my deposit gone. Maybe I could buy some paint off of Heidi and hide them, but right now I had more pressing problems. By the time I was ready to face the world, it was already pretty late. I need to do something. After last night, the last thing I wanted was to be trapped inside of my mind all day. Heidi probably didn't want me to come down until 5, as normal. I thought I'd shoot her a message and check. She phoned back. Hey, I said I don't do messages. I like to be able to shout! She grinned scarily. I don't know how I knew that through the phone. There wasn't any funny business last night, right? After you got home? I thought it was best not to bring up the King in Yellow, Nikita, or any other events from last night. No, it was fine, basically. Fine, basically. You don't sound too sure, Trixie. Haha, no, I'm okay. I just, I spilled juice on myself and got sticky. It's wild, a real tragedy. Really clean now, though, like a baby. Like a baby, I don't even know what that means. Sounds terrible, hahaha. Hope you're doing okay now, though. I'm glad my anxiety of using phones was overriding my fear. I didn't want to pull all that shit with Nikita on Heidi. Not when we were already dealing with the matted figure. I want to put all that shit on Nikita. With Nikita on Heidi, I see, okay. I'm fine, I'll come down at like 4-ish, yeah? Sure, I'll just be using a broom to get the crow that lives in the vending machine out all afternoon. They've been pretty loud recently and I'm sick of it. See you later, bitch! Wait, what was that about the line went dead? I fucked about online for a while, desperate not to think too hard about last night. Eventually I ended up at Heidi's. There were a lot of black feathers lying around, the signs of an ancient battle between crow and hyena. Hey Trixie, you got here just in time to help me clean up the remains of the cozy, calm crow. Not that that name suited them, the violent fucker. She nursed some peck marks on her face. Wait, remains? You didn't kill them, right? Heidi flashed her teeth at me. No, of course not. We just had a disagreement and they got their feathers all ruffled. They're meant to be shop security. I don't want them to eat vending machine snacks all day in return for nothing. They weren't exactly much help last night. They can move back in once they promise to peck the eyes out of my enemies. Come on, help me clean this up. We spent the next half an hour picking up entire birds worth of feathers. The cozy calm crow was lucky it was so warm out. Nice work, Trixie. Ready to do some actual work now? Yeah, I guess. More sorting through ancient treasures. Arty junk would be more accurate. None of this shit is actually real, remember? I hoped for Heidi's sake the stuff wasn't real, but after reading The King in Yellow, I wasn't so sure I believed her. About last night. I'm kinda thinking it was a one-off. I gave that creep a pretty nasty seeing too with the taser, right? I don't think we have to worry about them. We just kinda freaked out last night and got worked up. Rado was probably just some druggie, you know? We can keep an eye out, but I think we're fine. I wasn't entirely sure I believed that, but I trusted Heidi's judgment. She had been in this business longer than me. Okay, sure, that makes sense, I guess. I still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the matted figure than just a weirdo and drugs. Come on, Trixie, let's get to work. We got sorting. I remained amazed by quite how much stuff Heidi had hoarded, but if she could sell each thing for as much as the matted figure had handed me yesterday, I didn't blame her. Where do you actually get this stuff from? The magic car boot sale? I have a supplier, a secret one. You won't need them. I buy crap from them and then I sell it on. Think of them like a weirdo wholesaler. I considered asking if Heidi could get hold of some kind of Nikita calming amulet, but I decided I didn't want to go into all of that. We sorted for a while. Heidi kept checking the time. I think she could tell I noticed and felt the need to explain. I have Moonbeam business to attend to tonight. Some loser wants a book called Where the Strange Things Are by Ilaria Devon and Nenbor or some crap. Moonbeam business. Are you sure that's a good idea after last night? It'll be fine, I can look after myself. Bad timing, really. Belle's been trying to get me to the bar tonight. She seems pretty desperate for contact whenever I've seen her recently. I told her I have to go apologize to the CEO of Crowbar Inc. after sending the corporation some arson threats. She believed that. That's an interesting lie. Hey, that was all true except the bit about the apology. The corporation took out a restraining order on me instead. I just needed an excuse not to be able to go out tonight, you know. As we sorted through Heidi's stock, I noticed her mask on the desk. When I'd seen it before, I hadn't thought much of it. Perhaps the alcohol distracted me, but looking at it now, the mask was faintly ominous. The fur on the back of my neck stood on end, and memories of a masquerade in the Imperial Palace floated through my mind. Memories of Casilda. Where'd you get the mask from, Heidi? It looks really expensive. Heidi looked at me quizzically. Haha. No, I made it myself in an afternoon. Smashed up some plates, glued it to an old mask from my theater days, and sprinkled some sequins on it. Looks fucking stupid, sure, but at night with a hood on it's vaguely spooky and it stops the kind of weirdos who buy my stuff from recognizing me, so it does the job fine. Oh. I wasn't sure I believed that. I could see the guilt on Heidi's face. She was lying. I didn't want to push her on it, but something about that mask remained deeply troubling. From its ruby eye, I could see 1,000 reflections of Carcosa. Heidi's phone rang. She pushed me out of the office and into the shop. Sorry, Trixie. Secret phone call. The door slammed behind me. I tapped my fingers on the desk until Heidi re-emerged a few minutes later. Okay, so my supplier is totally fucking me. Oh, good for you? No, not like that. They've rescheduled our meeting again. I need to go meet them tonight, but I already have that other meeting to attend to. What? Are you sure this isn't like a trick? Nah, my supplier's just useless. Such a floozy. Look, would you be okay with, like, going out and making the sale for me? Can't I meet the supplier instead? The last time I tried to make a sale for you, it didn't go so great. My supplier is very secretive. They wouldn't show if it wasn't me there. Look, I feel really bad asking you to do this after last night, but it would be really hard to rearrange my meeting with my supplier. I'll give you the taser and the bat, and if anything seems off, you just get out of there, right? Sure. It's okay though, I'm sure I'll be fine. You showed that weirdo who was boss when you broke their arm and set fire to them, right? They won't fuck with Delia Moonbeam again. That or they would be hell-bent on revenge, I thought. I waited in the same spot as yesterday, shivering in the cool night air as I held another wrapped book in my hands. I quickly checked my phone, which I'll admit broke character a little. Whoever I was meeting was late. I was considering leaving when a shadow reappeared at the end of the alleyway. Or I guess appeared at the end of the alleyway. They clearly weren't the figure from yesterday. They were probably about half their height and wore a cardboard box on their head with what I hazard to call a scary face drawn on it. They approached me nervously. Hello, I'm Delia Moonbeam. Woo! Ah! I screamed as the disguised figure leapt at me, taking me by surprise. I fell against the cold floor and blacked out. Must have woken up a few minutes later. Fortunately, I didn't seem too badly hurt. In fact, I'm pretty certain I just fell asleep because I was tired. Delia's hood was surprisingly pillow-like. The alley was deserted, but the book was gone. I knew it must have been some kind of lackey for the matted figure. Uh-huh. Who knew how many more were out there that might try to hurt me? I had to get back to Heidi now. I could only hope she was already back from her meeting. I sprinted through the dark streets. They seemed deserted until I ran up against a group. A group of cloak-wearing strangers, their dark hoods hiding their faces. I screamed. They'd been sent by the matted figure. I knew it. I shoved one of them, my weak little arms doing little to push them. I turned and fled the way I had came. I need to take a longer route, shake them off my tail. It was a long while before I realized I wasn't being pursued. I kept running anyway. I have no idea how. Usually my legs stop working after about 5 meters. But not this time. I was terrified. I just needed to get back. I burst through the shop door. Heidi was already there, replacing the use-by dates and some tinned food with new stickers. I don't think that's legal, Heidi. Heidi. Geez, Trixie, are you okay? Where were you? You should have been back ages ago. I had to catch my breath. I was chased. I had to lose the chasers. You were— what? Trixie, what happened? Look, just go get changed. I'll keep an eye out. I shakily got out of the outfit in the office and returned to Heidi, somewhat calmer. I was attacked. Again. Someone, the person I met, they jumped me. It must have been sent by our new friend. Fucking jeez. Heidi paced around the room, stopping briefly to beat up a box of pineapple snapples out of sheer anger. And you sure it was them, or one of their helpers or whatever? I only now consider that there wasn't actually any proof it was one of the matted figure's helpers. Well, no, I'm not sure. I just assumed. I mean, has this happened before? Never twice in a row. You're right, this is too weird. It must be related. Fuck's sake. She continued pacing. I was too shaken to speak. This is getting out of hand. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. Right, I'm going to implement Eclipse contingency. I'm torching any crap that doesn't look valuable and moving the rest somewhere safe so I can lay low. I've noticed Heidi seems to use anything as an excuse to torch stuff. I'll pack this junk up tomorrow and burn it tomorrow. Want to lift back to your place again? I did. I needed to get some sleep. I should have started doing something about Nikita, but I was way too tired. Hopefully my exhaustion would stop me from thinking too hard about the matted figure. And the king in yellow. That night I dreamed of the basement on Daffodil Lane. I'm gonna skip this part again. Oh. I blacked out, and when I awoke I found myself elsewhere. This is still part of the dream sequence. Me and Heidi were hiding in our shop. I wasn't sure why at first, but as I peeked above one of the displays, I saw objects shift and move around the room. A golden mist surrounding them. On the floor lay what seemed to be a cloaked corpse. It took me a moment to recognize the shape of the matted figure. I ducked as a wrench was tossed through the air towards me by the malevolent force that had taken over the shop. I wanted to say something to Heidi, but before I could open my mouth, she was yanked from her hiding place by some unseen hand and pulled into the shop. I yelled and foolishly ran out of my hiding place, straight into the matted figure. The matted figure lifted their hood and closed my eyes. And I closed my eyes. I had no intention of looking upon their impossible face again. Silence. I opened my eyes. I stood in a frozen plain dotted with sheep. It seemed to stretch for miles. In the far distance, across leagues of cold snow, stood a great city, its architecture alien and cubic. At first I feared I looked upon Carcosa, but the peaceful sheep and calm weather told me otherwise. Deep in Siberia, I looked upon the legendary city of the star gods. I took a step forward and the sheep crumbled to ash. With a roar, the ground below me uprooted as the earth exploded outwards. I fell to the side as dirt rained down on me. In the distance, the city erupted into a massive ash, magma, and earth. The shockwave ripped the ground apart and drew closer and closer. Death and debris plumed hundreds of miles into the sky. The birth of the Dark Age. I plunged back into consciousness and awoke, screaming and shaking. Okay, I'm gonna skip again. I was about to message Heidi, but remembered she'd probably prefer if I called so she could yell at me if she felt like it. I'm gonna drink some coffee. Sup, Trixie? Hey, I was wondering if you wanted me to come down today and give you a hand? You're burning stuff, right? I like burning things a lot, so I'm definitely qualified for that role. Haha, sorry to disappoint you, little Miss Arsonist, but I'm putting off Eclipse contingency for one day. I've got a court appearance to deal with the whole arson threat thing that I did, which I guess makes me Little Miss Arsonist. Don't tell me when I called myself Little Miss, haha. I have a taser. Oh no, that's a pain. Well, have fun with that, I guess. Will do. You take care, okay? Okay, but oh. She'd hung up early, again. I sighed with nothing to distract me, there was nothing else for it. I'd have to face up to Nikita. So this is the same again. I think I want... to this one? No, I don't think this is correct. Oh crap, I hope that I have enough points to read the correct one. Oh wait, this is different actually, hold on. Hold on, I'm actually gonna read this because this is different this time. The Wilhelm Notes was a collection of notes written by the infamous Grand Inquisitor Wilhelm. So some of this is the same, but I saw text that was definitely different, or at least I didn't realize why it was important the last time. The Order of Mercy were going to a cursed chapel outside Bluefield's town. There was a fight against cultists of the Yellow Eye. I was wounded, a pitchfork to my side. I stumbled away from the battle, blood staining my purple robes a dark brown, and I found myself facing one of the site's many altars. Emblazoned on it, the yellow sign. As I left consciousness, the yellow sign still staring into me, I slipped into somewhere dark. And first I saw Carcosa in its rotting state I know had glimpsed on unimaginable terror. I walked the streets of that city for decades, centuries even. From the top of the Imperial Palace to the deepest depths of the Twilight Quarter, where abominations long forgotten crumbled to dust underneath the perpetual darkness of Lake Holly. It was a city drenched in evil. When at last I returned to consciousness, I awoke in a pile of bodies and presumed dead. I dragged myself away from this terrible place and made my escape into the woods. I would later return with the fourth chapter, the Order of Retribution and Purification, and burn alive each of the cultists. I fully believed that this would end the whispers in my head. Still they continued. Dismayed, I returned to my home and inflicted punishment on myself for this heresy. When the voices remained, I gave in to my weakness and listened, and finally realized what was being whispered to me, and was filled with a manic intent to lay it into parchment. The words flowed into my mind and onto the page. For 3 days I wrote without rest, food, or breath. When finally the manuscript was completed, I bound it in preserved snakeskin, the only remains of that ancient people. I looked upon my work, seeing it with my own eyes for the first time. I had written the King in yellow. Later, a gift was presented to me. The mask of the pale servant, one eye looking into the future, and the other blinded by the first ruby to be mined from the quarry that would become the Twilight Quarter, and forced only to remember the past. A white china-like mask inlaid with gold mined from the great moon of Carcosa. It was terrible to behold, for I knew who had delivered it to me. Whispers from the king tell me that they who possess the mark are blessed to walk this path and claim the broken throne for themselves. The mask was lost to me, stolen. Mercy on the wretch who finds it. That was different text, I feel like. I thought of Heidi's mask. I would need to see it in person again to be sure, but the description was certainly familiar. I checked the clock. There was about 3 hours left until the librarians would kick me out. Oh, it's Reaching Other Worlds is the one that we have to read. Okay. I think that's it. I think that these are gonna be... yeah, the same. Oh, okay. Are we gonna hang out with Parsnip again or decline? We've done both, so I'm not sure. I can just pick one also if people don't have strong opinions. Okay, I'm just gonna do it again. I'm gonna see what happens if I don't eat anything. Oh no, I just realized. I have a disease, I can't eat food. me IRL. Oh no. When I'm sick, I just eat more sugar. First up, that's disgusting. It's a natural remedy. Also, I love this face that Trixie's making. Sorry, but I have food disease. If I eat food, I'll die. It's just one of those things. Oh no, maybe when you get better from dying, you can try some. Parsnip was more dense than I realized. I'll keep that in mind. Parsnip, maybe I'll have some in the future. Yeah, you can watch me eat. Oh, jeez. I watched Parsnip start to nibble tiny bits off of the other cakes and put them back on the shared plate. He didn't seem to have taken in anything I had said. He would cycle through the cakes, eating only a little bit of each at a time. Let's skip this again. Okay. Okay, I'll go with the Rose, because I do like her. Okay. I'm gonna decline, because it didn't really even work. Sorry, La Rose, but I'm not gonna push your neighbor into a bush. He'll get bored soon, I'm sure. Well, I'm disappointed. She sighed. Well, thanks anyway. I better get painting. I'll see you around. I felt a little bad abandoning La Rose to her fate. Pushing Parsnip over seemed a little too mean even for my morally bankrupt self. I said I'd be fucking around for too long and reluctantly got on with my business. So we're doing this. I started to run from the basement, but... Leave not, little white rat. I stopped in my tracks and not by choice. A golden glow clung to my body, holding me totally still. Moonbeam, Heidi, Trixie Glimmer Smith, all one. You will return what you stole. My blood froze. This ghost knew about me and Heidi. It knew about Moonbeam. I had robbed it. I remembered that night in the alley, the golden eyes of the matted figure. I remembered the glint of recognition when the figure had laid eyes on my face. You? The grimoire. The shop, return there, finish our deal or the hyena will perish. The skull shattered into dust, any evidence of their existence turned to a fine bone powder that joined the spores and dust in their toxic dance. I was thrown to the ground as the gold mist floated out of the basement like snow in a breeze. I climbed to my feet, my head ringing. I must have hit it when I fell. Okay. There was no time for anything else right now. I had to help Heidi. I tried to phone her, but there was no answer. It looked like I was going to have to run all the way to town. The windows of Heidi's shop were blinded and its sign read closed. Someone didn't want intruders. My heart dropped. Was I too late? Summoning all my courage, I burst inside. Heidi, oh shit. I was too late. Heidi had been pinned to the spot and her weapons were discarded on the floor. The shop gently shook with the same force that infested the abandoned cottage on Daffodil Lane. It looks like the boxes from the office had been pulled into the shop. Items were thrown from them as if the ghost was searching for something. On the floor lay the lifeless, matted figure, their bodies still hidden beneath their thick cloak. Trixie, get out of here! The white one arrives, the pale rat. Thank you, friend. Placate your associate, aid me, and all shall be fine. I was terrified. This had gotten out of hand. Heidi, calm down. They need our help, then they'll leave us alone. They promised. I wasn't sure if I believed them, but it was my only way out. Please put her down, she'll behave. Right, Heidi? I gulped. She looked pissed. Fine. Very well. Behave, little hyena. Heidi dropped to the floor as the golden glow pulled away from her. Her bat and taser lifted into the air as if yanked up on strings. Heidi's weapons were thrown into the air. The bat splintered, scattering shards of wood across the shop as the taser seemingly imploded and fell to the floor with a dull thud. The deal, rat, the books, stolen by you. The book, the spell, the body, reunite. The voice boomed into my head. I don't know what you mean. The book I sent you out with the other night, the one you didn't give them. It's some old spell book, supposedly written by the Salt Sisters. It's in one of the boxes. Okay, Heidi, you just stay there and I'll find it. I rummaged in one of the boxes. There were a lot of books, but none seemed to be by the Salt Sisters. I could feel the invisible eyes of the ghostly entity burn into me like hot coals as I fumbled through the junk. Hurry, do not waste time, rat. Look, I'm trying, okay? It's... Heidi, you didn't really organize this stuff very well. That's because I was going to burn it. Sorry, it's just... might have helped me right now, that's all. Not really the time for you to be bitching about my organization, missy. Do not bicker. The mask. Find it, small rat. Small white rat. Don't even know what it looks like. It's black and old. Fortunately, there's only one book in amongst the scattered artifacts that fit that description. Oh, okay, here it is. My fingers trembled as I picked up the book. The grimoire of the Salt Sisters. It looked old enough to be the original unradiated malevolence from its crumbling pages. Yes, the book, the forbidden words, the sisters, the body, reunite. I don't know what it is that you want. The book is so long and Before I could finish, the golden mists of the ghost plucked the book up from my hand and flicked through the pages impossibly fast. The pages stopped turning. The voice boomed louder than before. The spell, cast the body. Do it now, do it now. The shop seemed to shake with each word. A cyber-draped Kulia plushie burst in a shower of wool and lead. The sound of cans imploding boomed from the inside of the vending machine. Speak it now, speak it now, speak it now, speak it. The voice repeated into my head, drumming the orders into me as my mind began to cloud once more. The page seemed to list the words to some terrible spell. I dare not write them here. I read them out loud, trying as hard as I could not to understand what I said. With each word, my mind ached. Stories always talk about the price for performing magic, and I could see now that it was no lie. I can only hope my actions that day do not cost me my soul, if indeed I still have one. As the last words of the spell left my lips, the shop began to violently shake. Trixie, get back! Heidi pulled me to her and we ducked behind the shop counter. The room pulsed with golden light. I shut my eyes, but that was not enough to keep the gold from seeping in. Whispers filled my mind, the regal speech of Carcosa, descriptions of a forgotten era, and inklings of forbidden knowledge. Threats against a nameless enemy. Fear. The matted figures tormented my mind. The matted figures tormented mind. Then, as suddenly as the process had begun, it was over. The room was silent, the golden light was absent. Is it over? Oh look, stay still. I was glad Heidi had volunteered. I dreaded to think what we might see. Heidi didn't say anything, whether that was good or bad I wasn't sure, but I decided to look. In the center of the room, standing with their own muscles and smiling at us with a wicked grin, stood the matted figure. Ah, my friends, you have been most useful. The bargain is complete. The figure began to leave the shop, walking clumsily on their weak legs. And you aren't coming back? The figure paused, their back to us. They looked over their shoulder, straight into Heidi's eyes. You have my word. Before either of us could respond, the figure stumbled out of the shop. Heidi sighed and patted me on the shoulder. You okay, Trixie? I wasn't. I knew what walked underneath that cloak. Even imagining it was enough to make me shiver. To look upon the warped face of a sheep was an awful thought. How could such a creature have come to exist? And yet I knew that it was as natural as I. Which begs the question, why were no other sheep like it? I shook the thoughts from my head, I just wanted this to be over. Yeah, I'm fine. Heidi looked at the mess of books, amulets, and other tat thrown across the room with a sigh. It was a week of organizing down the drain. So, I guess I need to clean this up. It's all kind of lost its charm now that I know some of it actually is evil incarnate. You okay to help me? We can burn it! I checked the time. It would be a little longer till the moon was out. I could help for a bit, sure. I don't really fancy going outside yet anyway. I'd rather give that person more time to get as far away as possible. For sure. Come on, let's get the stuff packed up and flammable. We started rooting through the mess. It was a lot easier to sort through it now that it all just went straight into the burning box. Sorry for, ruining everything for you, Heidi. I fucked up pretty badly. You know, it's not your fault. I shouldn't have gotten you involved in this weird stuff. Heck, I shouldn't have gotten myself involved in this weird stuff. I think it's time I go straight-laced and start running the shop properly. Really? Heidi thought for a moment. Nah. I'll probably just sell it and get a job as a bouncer. A really violent bouncer. I wasn't sure if she was joking or not. How do you fancy free entry to whatever club I work at? I think I'll pass on that. Thanks, though. What about your Moonbeam stuff? Will you keep that for your Dungeons and Fungeons games? She picked up the mask of Delia Moonbeam up off the floor. Oh heck, I can't burn this. It's kinda special to me. She started packing it away into the keep box. Hey, Heidi? I know it's a big ask after all my fuck-ups, but do you think I could maybe have the mask? Heidi looked at the mask. Sure, Trixie, it's a present, okay? To make up for all the times I yelled at you and stuff. You can wear it to your graduation and totally prank everyone, haha! We fixed up the shop for a while. It was a real mess. At some point I realized everything that had happened had made me completely forget Nikita. I glanced out the window. The full moon hung low in the sky. I knew Nikita would be heading to Daffodil Lane soon. Maybe she was already there. I felt bad leaving Heidi, and if it wasn't for the pit in my stomach I got when I imagined Nikita, intentionally or not, releasing the horrors of Carcosa into our world, I would have gladly stayed. Hey Heidi, I have to go do something. Will you be okay here by yourself? Huh? You need to do something? At midnight, after what we just saw? What's that important? Is it everything okay, Trixie? Yes, it's fine, it's just something important. I need to help out my friend, she's in trouble, that's all. Yeah, I mean, you helped me, right? Maybe I can help you help them? I wanted to say yes, with Heidi there maybe I could stop Nikita. And yet I couldn't let myself be weak and bring her along. I couldn't be a coward and drag Heidi into something worse than what she'd already experienced because of me. No, this was something I had to do alone. No, Heidi. It's okay. It's nothing serious. It's just a private thing, you know? Uni stuff. Yeah? Nothing I can do. Well, a lift to Daffodil Lane might be nice. I'm thirsty. lane was quiet. It looked like Nikita hadn't opened the gate. Yet, at least. Here, good? Totally, thank you, Heidi. And thank you for, like, being my friend and stuff. Despite everything that happened, I've really liked hanging out with you. Yeah, it's been fun. But hey, it's not like you're going anywhere. I'll see you tomorrow, right? I wasn't sure. I'm sure. You should get to bed or whatever you do at night. I'll be okay here. I just gotta help my friend. Yeah? I'll see you tomorrow then, bud. You have a good night, okay, Trixie? See ya, Heidi. I waved her off as her motorcycle sped down towards town. I hope this wouldn't be the last time I saw her. I walked down Daffodil Lane towards the abandoned cottage. And skip. It's shimmered with ancient magic. Nikita's crystal was nullified. What? Okay, this is the same, so we have the second crystal. I'm sorry, Nikita. But I'm not so sure the king has chosen you. I pulled the mask out of my bag and held it aloft for Nikita to see. You've been betrayed, Nikita. The king chose me. The mask had come to me directly, but that didn't make it any less my right, even if I didn't want it. Nikita laughed at me. She didn't seem convinced. Then a brief flutter in her expression as her eyes focused on the grim visage? In that moment, I knew she recognized the mask. Oh, great king, this can't be. Smith, how did you... Her face broke into a blend of fear and betrayal. I was lied to. She fell to her knees, tears streamed between her fingers. And are you forgetting Nikita? It was me who was given the play. You had to beg me to give it to you. Trixie, you were the one he chose. None of his whispers were true. He played me like an instrument. Like her, okay. This is the same, so I'm just gonna... But She pointed meekly at the mask. I looked down at it. Its ruby eyes seemed to glow, a promise of decadence and power beyond the white gate. Inlaid symbols speaking unknown secrets into my mind. For a moment I considered that maybe this truly was my destiny. Was this mask always meant to fall into my hands? I shook my head. That wasn't a path I was wanting to take. I wanted nothing to do with Carcosa and the false promises of the King in Yellow. We can destroy it, the play too. It's all evil, Nikita, just look at what it's done to us. Let's get back to uni, okay? Uni. Yes, okay, Trixie. I slept well that night. Me and Nikita intended to burn the King in Yellow as soon as I finished writing the statement. When I suggested torching the play, I was worried she might snap back into her mania and try to stop me. But she had nothing to say. It was like being outsmarted to totally crush the desire Nikita had to keep up her mad charade. I've been swatting off worried calls from Heidi for the last 2 days. I think she knows something is up, but as soon as I submit this form, I'm going to meet up with her. I shall not speak of her to her of the King in Yellow. That's a secret between me, Nikita, and you. I still need to talk to her about our experience with the matted figure. I have so many questions about that night. About the matted figure. About sheep and our world's forgotten past. I remember the knowing, plotting smirk that cruel figure gave us before it left the shop. My heart fills with a dread matched only by one thing. What I read inside the King in Yellow. Despite everything, I have to admit there's still a temptation to open it. To finish reading the King in Yellow. Oh! Okay. It's the same... You get the same post-credits scene if Nikita lives through the final encounter. So that's the end. Of the final path. So that's exciting. I think I liked this path a lot. It went by a lot faster because we'd seen pretty much everything besides the Heidi scenes, but yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I think, it was one of my... I think I liked this path a lot because it had more of the like sort of lore with the sheep and stuff that was brought up in Parsnip. So I think it was cool.